Hello everyone, Film here again, and today I'm on a new creative world using the classic flat world settings in order to start actual work on the courses for minor problems. I've been putting this off for a little bit simply because I didn't really know what I was doing for a while, and I finally decided, you know what, I need to go ahead and get started on this or I will never actually do anything with it. So the course I'm going to be working on is the extended mob parkour. It was one of the first ones I had an idea for, so that's going to be the first one that I'm going to work on. My plan for building this is to just have it in this flat world because I'll go ahead and change the difficulty to easy, peaceful, so I don't have mobs getting in the way. But I'm going to be building in this creative world in order to get the actual map done because it's a lot easier when you have a base layer like this. And then I'm going to be using MC Edit, if it cooperates, to transfer everything into it, the world at various areas. I've been having issues where it does not actually save changes. I don't know what to do about that. Probably have to reinstall it completely. But while I work, I want to try to change up how I do things a little bit. Normally I'll talk about the mechanisms I'm building and things like that. That's fine for the most part, but I'm finding that it leaves me with nothing to talk about and slower working a lot of the time. Yeah, that's what I want. So instead I want to talk a little bit about various topics that come to my mind. For example, I mentioned not too long ago that I was making bread. That's a fun little hobby that I'm doing while looking for work and stuff like that. So I might talk a little bit about stuff like that, some advice for anyone who wants to start doing it themselves. But I also will talk about what I'm doing a little bit to explain what I'm doing. For example, here I'm starting work on a sewer system for it, and I know a lot of people will be wondering why bother with that. Well, that's part of the extension. So yeah, something to talk about. It's a lot harder than it sounds for someone like me to actually talk about anything, especially when no one's there. Well, you guys are watching this, but it's a one-sided conversation, so it's already a little bit difficult. Okay, let's see. The baking of bread. Now, I actually found out something very interesting recently. That has to do with bread. A little bit of background. I have been diagnosed with a double celiac mutation. So, while I haven't actually had any adverse effects from gluten that I've noticed myself, it is a huge risk, and it's very common for people of European descent. Most of Europe, if you look at the actual statistics, it will show that majority of Europeans do have some form of celiac mutation, which it's kind of interesting, but what I learned recently is that sourdough, which is my personal favorite style of bread, is very, very much a healthier bread. It naturally preserves itself because of the whole process of preparing it, and also even with a gluten style of bread, your normal wheats, white bread, and all that kind of stuff, if you make it with a sourdough, it doesn't have the negative impact, and it's also shown through very small studies to have potential benefits in the long run for people with even gluten sensitivity and celiac disease itself. And a lot of other research, not really research, but I don't really know what to call it. But historical data has shown that most breads in the past were made with a sourdough starter. So, kind of explains why there have not been a lot of concerns in the past for celiacs. And that also brings up something that has me quite irritated. You get all these companies that advertise their gluten-free products. A lot of them were gluten-free before this whole concern came about. And because they have them labeled as such, they mark them up to a high premium, which is absolute bullshit. And you got things like corn flakes. If they label as gluten-free, they suddenly can charge $5 extra if they wanted to. Simply because, oh, it's special dietary needs consideration. Cornflakes, just by its very nature, is gluten-free. It's corn. Corn is non-gluten grain. I think that a lot of these companies are going to need to shape up, because eventually people are going to start thinking like me and say, hey, no, a lot of these products that are being made gluten-free, specifically like the breads and stuff, all those pre-processed ones are so nasty, and they're very dense. They don't have a good flavor to them or anything. Meanwhile, you can make gluten-free bread like I'm doing at home, and it just takes a little bit of time and effort, and not very much at that, and it tastes great. It tastes just like normal bread. With a lot of my builds in the past, I tend to try to avoid rectangular, boxy, any kind of shape that is following the standard of Minecraft. I've never been a fan of the cubic form, but it makes building very easily. So I've always tried my best to incorporate curves, circles, ellipses. Even tried a triangle once. That didn't work out too well. But in the long run, it doesn't really matter. One series that I have really enjoyed is Building with B00. I love his build style. I like how he really tries to avoid the whole OCD symmetry of things. And while I've fallen into that symmetry trap myself, I really don't like builds that overuse it. I took a art history class. I took 2 of them in college, but one of the things that they were talking about was how the architecture was always trying to follow an artistic strand rather than the very boxy column and slab look like you get with a parking garage. And one of the focuses with that was Stonehenge. If you actually look at the monoliths, or no, they can't be called monoliths when they have the 2 as legs for the lintel piece. If you look at the columns with Stonehenge, you'll see that they are all curved. And back then everything was symbolizing something. With today you get people who do paintings just because, oh, that's a pretty flower, or they think it looks nice. And I'm not into the idea of art for art's sake. I want everything to actually have some symbolic meaning. I did this once before for something. I can't remember what. No, I want this to be another set of... No. This is a huge part of the build process that you won't see in a lot of build videos, where they're going back and forth between shaping their build. And I understand the point of it. They want to make sure that they're not boring people with an overly long episode, but sometimes you just have to show what it is you're doing. Talking a little bit about mob parkour itself, since it's a good topic to get onto right now. I'm very bad at on-the-spot topic creation. If I was given a topic, I could instantly talk about it, potentially. Let's see, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I still am technically a member of Toastmasters International. For anyone who has trouble with public speaking, it's a great organization. It's the safest environment to screw up while talking in. And it really helps you learn the skills to be able to give a speech. Even if you're an introverted person, you won't ever... If you're an introvert, you won't ever become an extrovert. That's just the long and short of it. And you could mimic it as best as you want, but there will always be that little voice inside that's telling you, this isn't you, But I feel that it's really helped me open up a little bit more. I do get out there. I don't panic as much as I used to. Like last few interviews I've been on, even I've been able to feel very confident with going into these places that I've never been before, talking with people I don't know. And I feel that's a huge step in the right direction to, being, what's the wording I'm looking for? I can't think of the right wording now. Oh well. Being able to work in a social environment, a big step towards that is being able to confidently talk in an interview and stuff like that. Now, for anyone who has been on Zero, which is probably everyone who will ever see this video, I doubt I'll ever be able to get anyone outside of Zero to view my stuff, which is okay. But anyone who's been on Mob Parkour, you know the basic look of it. And one of the things that really made me feel disappointed for it was the sprint update to Minecraft. Mob Parkour was not made for sprinting, and so we've had to do a lot of ad-lib repairs to it. And we've added glass panes all over the place just to keep people from being able to skip ahead. And still people try to find ways around it. That's to be expected. And it's really a shame because that is a great map. And it doesn't get the use that it should get because of the updates. That shape is really bugging me. It bugs me, but not enough to actually do anything about it. So I want to try to create the same feel as Mob Parkour without, excuse me, without having the very small areas that people can jump across and having to put up glass panes and stuff like that, because I don't like the look of that. It doesn't look good for the map. It doesn't work well for the course, and that's not what people really want out of it. Let's see if these look good. And of course, the main feature of Mob Parkour is the monster spawners. And that's going to be fun to implement. I just had to figure out how to get that. I'll probably have to find some random mod. There is a mod that I know of that allows you to edit mob spawners. That might be the way to go. Now, let's see. The actual theme of mob parkour is an actual little city type thing where it's kind of like a zombie apocalypse map, which is great. Just have to figure out how to do this. Sure. And one thing that I don't know if I've mentioned before with the minor problems map build is that I want at the very center, incorporated in some way, a statue of the person whose map inspired the one that one is. Which is going to be a little bit of digging into minor past, which is a bit of a taboo at times, but you have to do what you have to do on this. There's no getting around that. Let's see. Let's talk. So another issue I'm having is deciding the size of this. So I don't want very tiny maps, but I don't want them to be so huge that, you know, it's like, when is this ever going to end, you know? Well, don't you know? Okay, I don't know where that came from, but sorry if it offends anyone. My brain wandered there a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna be right back because I really want to find out who that was now. Okay, there are actually 3 names associated with mod parkour. Drummy, Head of the Mat, and Scion Zion. Now that actually is a bit of a predicament for me simply because Drummy I know got himself banned, and he did that on purpose. So it's a bit of a touchy subject with the server. And Scion Zion, I have never actually seen him online. I don't know what the history is there. So I probably will just put Hatter's statue in there, because he's still someone who comes on the server frequently, on good terms with everyone. Oops. Something else to talk about. I really should come up with a list of topics or something, because this is a little bit irritating. Okay, let's talk a little bit about... What should I talk about? Let's see. I do have a secondary YouTube account. It's my older account that I used to upload videos that were taken down for digital rights violations once that law and stuff passed. I wasn't making any money off of the videos, so I don't see what the complaint was. I didn't claim the content as my own. Oh well. And through that I watch... who all do I have? I have Total Biscuit on there, and I really love his styling. He's a really great... I don't even know what to really call him. He's not a Let's Player, he is a commentator. He does reviews of indie games, mainly with companies that approach him. But I think he does a lot of great things for the gaming community in general. And he recently had well, I don't know how recently it was right now, but he had a video up talking about the fast approaching death of the used game market. And for the longest time, I was very much pro used games. I thought, these are games that people have bought in the past. They don't want them anymore. Why let the thing just go to the trash? Let other people enjoy it as well. But his argument actually holds a lot of water very well. And if you haven't seen it, he's basically talking about how it's not the production company itself that's getting any of the money from it, which is true. It's all the individual retailers, but you get the big name ones out there like GameStop. They have a lot of control over demand because they are one of the top US game sellers. I don't know how they are internationally. That's one of the main points he brings up, is that you get these big companies that are, they are controlling the used game sales. They are the ones who get all the profit from it, and they also tell their employees, if someone wants a new copy of this, try to get them to buy the used copy of it. And no, that's bullshit. You don't tell someone to buy the used copy of something if they want the new copy. So I see where he's coming from with a lot of that. But at the same time, I think that the used market could be beneficial to the production companies. One of the things I think that the game producers could do that would help them benefit from the used game market more would be to actually let customers sell them back copies of the game. You get a lot of the companies like id Software who sell the game on their website, as well as the retailers, and you get people who get bored with a game, they don't want to play it anymore. Let them sell it back to the company. They obviously are not going to get as much back for it as they paid for it. If the companies were to take on the idea of buying back the used games and reselling them, they could either sell them at a discount, or they could just say, this game, we tested it, it works great, it's resurfaced, it performs just as new, and because it's not going to degrade as easily as other forms of media, they could just sell it at the same price, and most people wouldn't care. They have the game, it's working, everything plays exactly how it should. So, if a disc isn't a brand new disc, who gives a shit? A lot of people are going with the digital, digital checkout anymore, where they just pay online, they can download the game instantly, have it right away, and it's actually a little bit cheaper than buying the physical copy sometimes. Depends on where you get it from, obviously. And when I've never used Steam myself, I prefer having a physical copy of the game, I've always enjoyed having the disc, having the booklet, all that stuff. That's just who I am. That's how I do things. I will never enjoy ebooks. I like having the actual book. I like flipping through the pages. I enjoy the new books. When I have a place of my own, I hope to have a little library in it. It doesn't have to be a big room, just big enough to have bookshelves along the walls, a little table and chair, someplace I can just relax and read if I want to. Now you might be wondering what a sewer has to do with parkour. And the answer is, I don't know. I'll do something with it, I can get the general build itself done first, and I can add in the parkour part. Parkour isn't a big thing for me to build simply because I'm not very good at it. I'm not good at running parkour, not good at building parkour. And it's one of those things that is kind of strange for someone who's on the #1 challenge course server. It's kind of a wonder how I ever got through the mazes. Now, with the last Redstone update, one of the big concerns is the lighting lag that the circuits can generate. The circuits have a nasty habit of creating lag, which is all caused by the on and off state of the redstone. Redstone has a very low light level, and just updates because a lot of circuits are very rapid firing. Lighting updates can cause a lot of lag. And the best way to combat this is just increase the light level of the circuit area as much as you can. Which, if it's right next to a wall of an area that needs to be dark, can be a bit of a pain. Because light does have a tendency to go through blocks at times, especially the non-solid blocks. After I have this map done and tested, very basically, don't care if it's full testing, just want to get it functional, I want to try to get this out to some of the YouTubers out there that do custom maps. One name that comes to mind for that is MC Gamer. I've watched a lot of the maps he does. He does a lot of these challenge map type of things. And, well, the entire time he's talking about how much he regrets it and stuff like that. He does enjoy them. And I think that he would be a good person to contact with this. Man, I got a lot of trouble with talking right now. One of the problems when you don't talk a lot in the first place is once you do start talking a lot, your throat doesn't really like it. So you start getting a little bit of a blockage. And yes, I am talking about phlegm. That's a fun word, phlegm. One thing I do want to discuss a little bit is the Forsaken map project. Eric and I were discussing that the other day over Skype while looking over things. We're finding that the Redstone update has done more damage than we initially thought it would. We're finding that circuit timing is way off for some reason. Some circuits that we had planned on using in the maze do not work. For example, there's a lights out puzzle. We cannot get the T flip-flop in the center of it to work anymore. We've tried a whole bunch of different things to fix it. The issue is that we can't get a one-tick signal anymore. And it's strange because we're using a pulse limiter that should output a single tick signal, and it's outputting a 1.5 tick signal. The problem with the 1.5 tick signal is that it behaves randomly as either a 1 tick or 2 tick. And more often than not, it's doing a 2 tick signal. Like the second it hits the piston that needs a 1 tick to work properly, it's giving us a 2 tick signal. So rather than just dropping off the block, it's picking it